For the first time, 12 national teams will descend on Sydney Harbour for SailGP's biggest fleet in history.
What a moment!
Sydney's breathtaking harbour and its passionate crowd have witnessed some of the most electrifying moments across 4 incredible seasons.
Oh my God! Unbelievable! Germany must keep clear. Whoa! The Germans missed the mark. Well, someone's overboard, Todd. Someone's overboard. Oh my word!
This weekend, triple champion Tom Slingsby is on a mission, gunning for yet another victory on home waters. But the fight is fierce. Emirates GBR, Spain and New Zealand have the firepower to shatter Australia's dream. Sydney Harbour, Shark Island, 12 F-50s, a high-speed battleground primed for adrenaline-fueled world-class racing.
You can't do that!
This is SailGP.
Look at the speed!
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best, yes. Powered by nature, raw passion, all action. When it takes, racing on water, racing with impact. Give it all, everything, give it all, everything. We are racing. When it takes, we are SailGP.
After visits to the Middle East and New Zealand, Event 3 of SailGP 2025 heads to the gateway of Australia, Sydney. The iconic waters of this world-famous harbour have played host to some of the league's most memorable moments over the years, and today, a familiar face rejoins the fray. Team France returns to the Rolex SailGP Championship, bringing the number of teams competing for nearly $13 million in prizes up to 12. And what a better place for them to start their campaign than Sydney. This world-famous city has the water at its heart, and millions flock to the harbour city every year to take in its stunning natural beauty, unrivaled beaches, and unique culture. But this weekend, Sydney Harbour becomes the playground for the world's best sailors as they prepare for 2 days of high-octane racing in front of thousands. The KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. Alongside Emily Nagel and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. Well, Team Australia will be hunting for a win here on home waters before the league heads to North America for the first of 3 events in the U.S. Then for the first time, South America as we visit Rio for Event 6. 12 teams then travel to Europe for more new locations, including Portsmouth, Great Britain, and Geneva, Switzerland. Before we return to the Middle East, where we will crown a champion in November of 2025.
2 events down in the Rolex SailGP Championship, and we know that we're set for an epic season.
What acceleration!
It's unfair to judge at the bottom of the overall standings as the new teams find their feet. Red Bull Italy, though, had an incredible performance in Auckland, finishing in 6th place.
Where have they found this form from?
With the 3rd place in Dubai, it was a different story in Auckland for the United States. Despite good starts, they struggled in the breeze.
That could be a huge problem.
And with a rock-bottom finish, they'll be looking to move on quickly here in Sydney. For Giles Scott and the Canadian team, they had a tough event in Auckland. Not scoring any points is a harsh reality of just how brutal this league is.
The whole team's pretty disappointed and really frustrated with the way that Auckland went. So, yeah, it's an opportunity for a reset.
Switzerland managed a race win and a 3rd place in testing conditions in Auckland, a big improvement from Dubai. Rockwool Denmark went from 0 to hero in 1 hit. They saved a capsize and then went on to win back-to-back races in Auckland. It wasn't enough to make the event final, but it was a stronger finish than Dubai.
The philosophy of our team is to push hard this year, take a bit more risk. We're not playing the whole counting points consistency game this year.
It was a surprise to see New Zealand out of the final at the last event, but their 4th place finish leaves them joint on points with Emirates GBR after Fletcher made back-to-back finals.
Yeah, it's been great, the only team to be, in that final twice, but also, disappointed that we haven't won an event in the last 2, so can't count your chickens here and you've got to keep your foot on the gas.
I mean, we always love racing here at Sydney Harbour. Excited to give it another crack and try and take one off the Aussies this weekend.
France re-enter the league, bringing it up to 12 teams. They've got history here in Sydney that they'd love to repeat. For Australia, they sit 1 point off the top spot overall after an exceptional performance in Auckland. They'd like nothing more than to bring it home in front of home fans and make it back-to-back victories.
If we sail well, we're hard to beat. And yeah, we're going to take that momentum here into Sydney, and yeah, we're very confident.
At the top of the table, Emirates GBR and New Zealand come into event 3 tied with 17 points, with Australia and Spain breathing down their necks on 16. France have been awarded 5 season points for each of the 2 events they've missed out on, and now sit in 5th place overall. Unfortunately for the US SailGP team, it was over before it even started here in Sydney after capsizing while being towed out to the race course for practice yesterday. And the drama didn't stop there for the 12 national teams competing here in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious what the cause is for the capsize. The wing was inverted while they were still towing. So basically, instead of staying straight, it just went against the wind. Basically very similar to what we've seen for USA and Bermuda. Unfortunately, they sustained very severe damage on the main element. So what they were sailing with was essentially the spare from Bermuda, but I'd be surprised to see them on the race start this weekend.
Yeah, towing is something you really got to be onto and paying attention, because it can just happen so quick on these boats if a button's pressed or even the tow line itself.
It was a big practice day in Sydney, and even the triple champions found it tough. But it was Germany Deutsche Bank who, after lightly colliding with Italy, made a bigger error with Mubadala Brazil, taking out their bowsprit. Both teams will now receive penalty points against their season. So to recap, no racing for the U.S. this weekend, and furthermore, they have been penalized 8 season points after their capsize. Germany have also been hit with 12 season points for their 2 incidents, and Mubadala Brazil lose 4 season points. Those penalties will be applied at the end of this weekend's racing here in Australia.
Well, the racing schedule for today's 4 qualifying races for the 11 teams. 10 points are up for grabs for the race winner, all the way down to 1 point for the 10th place. It's 0 if you're last. There'll be 3 more races tomorrow before the top 3 teams head to a winner-takes-all event final. Let's head over to Emily to take us around today's racetrack.
The start today will be just above Shark Island, and with the breeze coming over the land, expect to be trickier for teams to get up on the foil and judge the time to the line. With 11 boats, there'll be a balance between hitting the pole position and having space to accelerate quickly. The long, narrow course also means more manoeuvres will be necessary, putting the pressure on the teams to keep their crews dry and average speeds up. This means there are plenty of opportunities for overtakes and close crosses. With big breeze today, strategists will have to be on alert and keep a lookout for traffic jams at the gates to be able to react quickly and weave through the fleet to maybe steal a win.
So we're getting close to racing. What was 12 is now 11 as we send it down now on the water for the 4th member of our broadcast team. Here is Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Well, from down here, Todd, it's looking fantastic for racing today. We have a gusty northeasterly wind, 25 kilometres per hour up to 37, so a big range there. Those top-end gusts will mean huge gains and losses across the course, and the wind direction is changing quite a lot too, so a big day for strategy. We've got the 24-metre all-purpose wing, those new high-speed T-foils, high-speed rudders, and the middle-sized J2 jib at the front, so the F50s will be able to get right across this range. It's going to be a fantastic day on Sydney Harbour.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. We are now coming up on 45 seconds to go before the start of this race. 11 teams out in the start box, and it'll be all on as they will be racing to mark number 1. It'll be a great day of racing here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney.
Delta 12, we have a big delta. Below them.
Well, here we go. We see on the left-hand side here before the start. Here's the pre-event points. Now, there were some penalties out there in practice yesterday. Disastrous for Germany and Brazil. They're going to struggle to fight back from here as we come into the start. We see New Zealand up and foiling. It's tight with Canada. Our pole predictor sits on the Swiss. New Zealand struggling to start well. They're going to be focused on a big start here. They've got to be up and foiling. The bottom of the line, Spain and Australia fighting hard. Who's going to get their timing right into the line? We watch for the lines to turn white. Who's judged it right? Oh, it was perfect by the Swiss, just behind the line. Now, can they accelerate that boat down towards Mark 1? They've got a faster angle, but Contant de la Pierre back with a bang. I think he will be able to hold on the inside as they head into the mark.
And the race is on to mark number 1 here in the first race of the day at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, the Rolex SailGP Championship. And at mark 1, it is France. Welcome back to the fleet, Contant de la Pierre.
Oh, they blur their back, Todd. They're back, and what a start from de la Pierre. Come out red hot there. Brilliant work as he swings away, and now he controls the first decision.
This is the umpire's penalty. Italy relative Brazil. Windward boat not keeping clear.
Oh, wow, where was that penalty from? Brazil and Italy look quite well separated. Must have been back quite near the start line. That means Italy need to drop back behind Brazil. Outstanding performers of the last event in Auckland were Italy, but this is disastrous as we see Brazil off the foils as well. The Italians have got a long way to drop back.
The Italians currently sit in second place, but they have to yield up those positions. It is France out in front, and it looks like Spain and New Zealand and Australia will be the big winners after this penalty is resolved.
Yeah, it's a great spot, Todd, because the Australians, I mean, one thing we've seen is how fast they are, and they found space. They're going to look to try and get a left turn, but I think they're struggling. Could be one more manoeuvre for the Australians here. Expect France to turn left, and we're going to learn a lot. Who's correct with this decision? Is it favoured to turn left, or is it favoured to turn right at gate 2?
And you are right, Stevie. Look at the Australians. They do have the right of way. They do dip behind Switzerland, so it's France at the DP World gate number 2, and it's Switzerland in second place. Australia, they opt for the right-hand side of the course. Spain and Denmark will follow them, with the Kiwis going the way with the French and the Swiss.
Yeah, we're going to learn quite a lot about the racetrack here, Todd. The Australians have turned, they're just gone off to the bottom left-hand corner of our screen, and they will be looking to find more wind and space heading that way. It's tight in the pack. Here come Brazil. They've got to give room to the Germans, but they're so much faster. They're both going to be around the outside. Canada, they've got to avoid Brazil here. Careful, it's really tight. As soon as you're back in the pack, it's so tight. Here we see Canada set up for a manoeuvre.
Turning. SD on it.
Giles Scott executing that maneuver right there. Meanwhile, it is France out in front. Australia has moved into second place with Spain, the overall champions of last year. They now sit currently on 4th.
Oh, the wind's really shifty, and that was a pretty good gain to Australia. They're going to have to dip behind the Swiss. Got these new systems on the boat there. The green suggests right of way, red circles saying you've got to keep clear. So Swiss have got the right of way. France need to be sure they're ahead. Who's judged that right?
Okay, my red.
Looks pretty good to me. Perfect judgment. But the Swiss, they're on a good wind shift at the moment. They were progressing straight up those ladder lines, and they're going to be challenging the French at the next intersection.
This is leg 3 of 7, the first of 4 races today here in Sydney. Stevie, how much rust do you think we expect from France? This is their first race behind the wheel with the full fleet going full tilt.
I expected a lot of rust, if I'm perfectly honest with you, Todd, but the beauty of getting a good start is they've got a little bit of space, so the tempo of the race should be a bit lower when you're out in front because you're making your own decisions. Now, easier said than done when you've got the Australians who are the absolute form boat right now chasing them down. But yeah, de la Pierre, I mean, he's a cool cat, isn't he? And he's come back. They look pretty good. Man on at the back there looking around, but there you go, I said it. The Swiss have found a nice gain. There seems to be more wind towards the bottom of our screen where New Zealand are heading right now, where Australia and France heading. Great game for Steph Schneider, and this is what the Swiss need.
As they get ready to approach gate number 3, we can check in down on the water with Lisa Darman. And Lisa, do you see favorable spots on the course, and how big of a factor will Shark Island be this weekend where it's situated?
Standing by. Quite gusty here, going boarding 2.
Well, right now, Shark Island's not the problem. The problem is the wind hasn't decided what direction it wants to be. So where France, Australia, Spain are right now, that's where the wind is. So I think it's going to be to and fro all the way to the top gate. But yeah, it's a really tight racing in that top 4 right now. It's great to watch.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's very shifty out there. Good wind on the side that the Swiss are going to head back to. Interesting decision here for the Australians. Will they go towards the right turn? I think they will to minimise manoeuvres. France are going to split away. We're going to get 2 boats turning right, 2 turning left. Now that extra manoeuvre is going to lose a bit of distance to the French in the short term, but how's it going to play out longer term? France head away. They're all looking for more wind.
Well, to Lisa's point, it looks like the Swiss and the French are going to be on more pressure on that side of the course, Stevie, as you see the Australians and Spain heading towards Shark Island. So the race really on here as we finish gate number 3. A lot of the fleet still coming in. And I wanted to go back and talk quickly, if we could, about the start. You saw the congestion in there with 11 boats. Remember, the USA is not sailing today. Craig Mitchell, chief umpire, had his hands full there, but no penalties on the start.
Well, there weren't any. It was just after the start, the Italians. It's always crucial. You've got to try and dominate the boat just downwind of you at the start. The Italians did that, pressing really close towards the Brazilian boat, but it's cost them. Look, they're back in 10th now. And yeah, I mean, the start's crucial, and those meters at that moment make a massive, massive difference. We see here the Swiss have extended away. Here we go, right of way with Spain, indicated by that green circle. France have to keep clear. Big dip behind, but they're now going to be back in some space. The Australians, though, they just don't go away, do they? Relentlessly quick round the race course.
10 points to the winner of each race here. We've got 4 scheduled for today, and right now it is Sebastian Schneider and the Swiss who lead this race out in front. Australia tried to track them down. They sit in second. Then it's Spain and France really locked up almost dead even, and then Emirates GBR, your top 5.
Great camera angle here. So see that dark patch coming down the course there through the middle. That's that little bit more wind. The French were in that. The Australians are now going to hit it. We should see them accelerate a little bit. Little check up. Australia are going to turn left. France are going to turn right. Last time that was good for Australia. Who's it going to be good for next? It's going to be about 30 seconds until we find out. But right now the Swiss, well, it's a class act by that team right now. New Zealand back in the pack as well, Tom. Look at that, middle of our screen, 8th.
The 2 new teams, you've got Mubadala Brazil and Red Bull Italy holding down 10 and 11 right now. Germany getting all those season points docked because of incidents in practice yesterday. They sit in 9th place.
Go right away, Cannon, New Zealand, late manoeuvre. Those 2 teams are not going to be happy 7th and 8th in rate 1 here. We know that you can't really win it on day 1, but you can make it very, very hard for yourself. And an 8th in the first race would not be what Burling and co need. They need to find some overtakes on this upwind leg.
Well, you talk about this 4-race format on day number 1, Stevie, and you've always said you could have one bad race, you know, a race outside the top 5 or 6, but you cannot have 2.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, that'll start to change as the fleet gets harder. I mean, the Swiss now putting in a race win in race 1. Really good news for them. French back in the mix. It's hard to get that consistency, but it's what you need. Rolex chasing time shows that the Swiss are doing a nice job. Both boats sailing towards a different side of the course. Again, there's potential. As soon as the boats are a long way apart like this, we call it leverage on a race course. If you've got leverage, a small shift in the wind, a gust of wind, gives you that opportunity to make a gain. Lisa, we've got a big split on the race course at the moment. Do you think the Australians have got a good chance of gaining over the Swiss here?
Well, I actually think the Swiss are about to get hit by a really nice gust, so I think they will probably hold this lead. The gusts, they're quite small, but they are going into a good set of pressure right now. But Australia have closed the gap. It's always close out here in Sydney Harbour.
Close to the end of the race here, Todd. We've just got 2 legs to go, as short ones, and it's a close cross. Right of way, Switzerland. Australia dip behind, but it's a solid gain, and the Australians will have the right of way, and 2 boats come back together. Slingsby, he's putting on a latest charge here. What Schneider got to respond to it. Good wind shift for the Australians, nearly sailing straight up the ladder lines at the moment. They will have the right of way when they come back towards the Swiss.
And there was that extra maneuver that Seb Schneider and the Swiss had to put in. Now they drop back to 2nd place with Diego Botín and the Spaniards now closing in on them. So Stevie, it's amazing. This is a large track out here, but it changes quickly, especially when you factor in the hometown Australians. We saw it in practice yesterday. Tom Slingsby, no lead is safe.
Yeah, well, he got a bit greedy. He thought he could get to gate 5 with no more turns, and then the wind changed direction. That meant he slowed up, and he's opened the door for the Swiss. Bit of industrial language. Slingsby's annoyed with himself there. Think he chased that gate 5, and now the Spanish are going to be the ones turning right. It'll be Spain when the boats come together in 30 seconds time with the right of way, but can they find enough wind to close the gap on Australia and Switzerland?
So at gate number 5, it changes yet again as the Australians drop back to 2nd place. Tom Slingsby, an uncharacteristic mistake there as he misjudged that gate, had to make a final maneuver there, which is going to cost him a little bit of time. And now can he track down Seb Schneider and the Swiss?
Careful here, too low.
The Swiss have turned a bit close to the German, but they've judged it well. Oh, a bit of language on board the Australians. Tempo's high, home pressure. Here come the Spanish. They got the right of way here, but they have got one more manoeuvre to do. Schneider, does he think he's round? He needs to be sure. He is. Spain are going to manoeuvre, but can they stick it in front of Australia? Oh, the Spanish have got too high. They pushed too wide. Surely that was too aggressive from Spain. He's absolutely forced it in on Australia. He needed to turn tight round that mark. Was it tight enough? I think it might have been.
And as they come to the line, race number 1 in Sydney will go the Swiss way. Seb Schneider and Switzerland take the first race here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Spain will hold on for second, and it will be Australia finishing in third.
Well, that was an Emirates winning moment for the Swiss. What a moment it was, Todd. And it heard from the umpires, it was all clear by Spain, absolutely pushing it. Slingsby livid with himself there, but third place is a solid start. And what a return to SailGP. First time we've seen him this season, and the French get a fourth. Brilliant for De La Pierre and co. Fletcher, the ever-consistent Fletcher on Emirates Great Britain. Well, they're up to fifth. Not a bad start.
Rockwell, Denmark will round out the top 6, so a solid performance for them, not exactly what they were looking for. Canada, a nice showing there, mid-pack, they will finish in 7th place, and the Kiwis digging themselves an early hole. Remember, they won the first event of season 5, taking top honors in Dubai, and they come to Sydney looking for revenge on the Aussies who took the win in Auckland at their last event, and they will have to finish in 8th place.
2, 1, forward down.
They're not going to be too happy with that one, Todd, I wouldn't have said. They're still not quite getting off the start line. They did find some space in that one. They put themselves in the mix. It's tight at the bottom here, but it's around the outside. Gained a place back. Germany, well, what a tough weekend. Minus 32 from 3 separate incidents yesterday. Had a little bit of damage, caused a little bit of damage. I think what we're seeing in SailGP at the moment is that experience. You know, the US team aren't racing, and I can only put that down from the feature we saw. Just a lack of experience, simple mistakes, not perhaps understanding how high performance, how delicate these boats are. You know, I wonder if some of these teams need to go out shopping for a bit more experience on them.
Red Bull Italy will finish in 9th, Germany in 10th. That means Brazil will come in 11th place, with the USA not competing because of the damage in practice yesterday. So a tough first race there for Martin Grail and Mubadala Brazil, as they will finish dead last. But the big win on the first race of the day has to be Seb Schneider and the Swiss, as we now go on board with them. Sebastian, congratulations. What a way to start things off. How are you finding the racing here in Sydney?
It's perfect. It's flat water, a lot easier than in Auckland. But it's super good racing, and yeah, what a place. Loving it.
And Seb, I mean, obviously fantastic to get off to a good start here. You and Arno seem to be working quite well together. What is your main points you're focusing on in the race today?
Just keeping it simple, Stevie. As you know, in a 49er in the big race, just yeah, keeping it simple, keeping it clean, and going well off the start line.
Seb, appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck in races 2, 3, and 4 as we now take a look back at race number 1 and the highlights and what they were. Emily, look at the crowd at the start.
I mean, look what the French do here. 9 seconds to go, there's nowhere for them to go, and they just sneak around the back of the fleet to nail the optimum point on the line. The Swiss, though, they also managed to create all of this space around them, which allowed them to actually be the fastest boat on that reach. So the French got to Mark 1 first, the Swiss hot on their heels, and everything slowed down with all of the traffic behind them, which allowed the Swiss and the French to keep extending up the course. But what was really noticeable in that race was just how shifty the wind direction is. We were seeing wind degree shifts of 30 degrees, which makes it really hard to judge all of the crosses. Teams had to be patient and not too risky, not trying to push it too much, and that's what happened to Australia. They tried to make a mark, couldn't quite get there, and ultimately allowed some teams to sneak through. But an amazing race by the Swiss team.
So the Swiss claim top honors in race number 1. What a way to start things off here on day number 1, event number 3 of the KPMG Sail Grand Prix Sydney, the Rolex SailGP Championship. As the Swiss draw first blood, the Aussies will finish in 3rd, and they will be looking for a big performance in race 2.
SailGP.
One of the most absolute iconic venues in all of sailing. We welcome you to Sydney Harbour. This is day one of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix. Sydney, Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, Todd Harris, and Lisa Darmanin with you here on a picture-perfect day. The sun is out, the fans are excited, and why not? Their team comes in very hot. The Australians looking very good as they get ready for race number 2 after finishing third in race number 1. The victory going to the Swiss.
The KPMG decision of the day comes as teams approach the right-hand side of the course after rounding the bottom gate. With the best breeze along the top left, it is all about deciding where to tack below Shark Island in order to end up in this pressure. A team that chooses to tack early will get into better wind on the left sooner, but to stay in it will have to do more maneuvers. The alternative is to push further to the right in hopes of getting a good wind shift and reaching the ley line. But in the lull below the island, they risk falling off the foils. At the top of the course, it gets even narrower, funneling boats from each side into each other. So teams that are going to come in with the right of way as well as speed will have a big advantage.
So a much different course that we saw in Auckland, a little tighter. This one quite a bit bigger, Stevie, as the boats now get themselves and start the dance in the pre-start as we are under 2 minutes away from the start of race number 2. The Swiss looked really good in race number 1. Stevie, we've talked about the start. They got away from the trouble. They did it. But I've got to be impressed with France. They have not been able to race this year because of wing issues. Here they are in their first race. And to get a 4th in Australia, that's big.
It's really big. I think what was also maybe big for them, Jason Saunders, their flight controller, he actually stepped in with the Italians in Auckland. So he's had that little bit of time racing. The whole crew's, been kept away from it. They'll have been absolutely raging to get out on the water there, and well, they were back. And with that little bit of French flair in the start as well, Delapierre saw something that no one else would have done, dive round behind the fleet, and yeah, it is a bigger racetrack, different skill set, but I could assure you this next minute, it's not going to feel very big. Very tight moments coming up.
So 11 national teams now in the start box, ready to do battle. The USA unable to go because of damage to their boat during the practice yesterday. And Stevie, I'll tell you, you look at this and you see the different strategies. France, once again, opting to stay away from everyone. And maybe, just maybe, Quentin Delapierre can work that magic 2 times in a row.
Well, you can give yourself space, you give yourself a chance. But the optimum position, that blue triangle in the middle of the start line there, that's the place you want to be if you're going to be set up for the best distance versus speed towards Mark 1. But ultimately, can you be fast at the gun? All the boats are a little bit slow. I think the coaches will have said we can potentially be fast at the gun. Right now, well, our pole predictor sits on the Brazilians with that space at the top, but the French are coming in fast and are going to be able to put a lot of pressure on them. 15 seconds to go. It's all about winding it up now. Delapierre's got it wound up on the French. At the bottom of the line, Rockwell Denmark are wound up. The Italians have the pole predictor, but it's Slingsby that finds a gap in the middle of the line on Australia. Watch for that line to turn white, and it's going to be go. Slingsby's got it absolutely on the money at the gun. Perfection from Slingsby, and they will drive to Mark 1. And exactly, nice work, guys. What a start from Slingsby.
And the hometown team are just that. The Flying Roos are flying to mark number 1 here in race number 2. After a 3rd place finish in race number 1, they are back. Tom Slingsby leading the 11 national teams here into race number 2 at mark 1.
Loved what he did there as well. He squeezed up under everyone, opened up an angle, wide in, tight out at Mark 1. That's what every coach wants to see. Perfect from Tom Slingsby. They're going to control the first decision. The Rolex sprint leader was the Australians, and it's Great Britain that manoeuvre first. Lovely turn by the British there, but Australia, they should be well set for gate 2. What's their strategy going to be? Will they look for a left turn? Will they look for a right?
Sepp Schneider, the winners of race number 1, in a dismal position right now. They are in the back of the fleet, left side of your screen. The Swiss in 10th place currently. It is Australia getting pressure now from Dylan Fletcher and Emirates GBR, one of the most consistent boats in the fleet through 2 events.
5 seconds.
Looks like the British are going to take a right turn here. That's Hannah Mills saying, let's spin away, turn right. So we're going to see that split again. Crucial decision here. Do the Australians, I think they will turn left to keep it simple, but there's going to be space.
Turning up here, sharper turn in 2, 1, turning up.
And at the DP World Gate number 2, it is Australia, the leaders, out in front. We saw this in practice, Stevie, and the rest of the fleet better beware. Do not give the Aussies much space. You better track them down now, because as the race progresses on, they will be harder and harder to catch. Nice move up by Martin Grail as Mubadala Brazil sits in 3rd behind Dylan Fletcher and Emirates GBR. Quentin Delapierre and the French sit in 4th.
Oh, it's a traffic jam after 4th place, though. It's so tight. The New Zealanders make a late call. They're going to lose a lot of places. They've got to stay wide on the outside. Oh, Berlin gets pushed wide. Last-minute decisions cost that New Zealand team. Spain on the inside now need to keep clear of Canada. It's so tight when you're in the pack, and you are just compromised when you've not got off that start line well. New Zealand are going to struggle from here.
And Red Bull Italy and the German team, German Deutsche Bank, both off the foils there at gate number 2, so they are back in the pack now. The Swiss have moved up to 9th, but everyone still trying to track down Tom Slingsby and the Australians. Emirates GBR now into 2nd. France has moved up to 3rd.
Oh yeah, here we go. We're coming for a replay. New Zealand, well, they spin the boat away late. They could have made that right turn just, but they would have been slow. In the background, we see both Italy and Germany weren't making it. Look at this. On the inside, it's Canada. They've got the right of way, and they've got to give room to Spain. Oh, that got very, very tight, Todd, and now we've got a big split on the course. We've got Australia come towards the bottom of our screen. They've headed away from the fans on Shark Island, but they've got good wind. Looks like a nice gain to the Australians there, Lisa.
Target's 58.
We're crossing them now.
By going left turn at the bottom, but they were able to gain over this left-hand side, this western shore. There's a big cloud, you might be able to see it on your screen, sitting over the city, and I think that's really pulling the wind around, so it's slowly going more and more favoured to this side.
There we go, we saw the Oracle Insights there. Did show a little bit more wind on the Australians, and see how they're sailing nearly straight up those ladder lines, so they've got good wind and a good direction at the moment. I didn't think there were clouds in Australia, Todd.
So it's Australia out in front. Their lead almost 200 meters over Emirates GBR. Brazil is now sitting in 3rd with a tight battle with the French, who are in 4th.
In the left as well. Feels like we're sailing a touch high every now and then.
Ian Jensen, the wing trimmer, sailing a touch high. That means they're sailing a bit too close to the wind, not quite fast enough. So it's really the wing trimmer's job on the boat to drive the speed in the boat, push the drivers to be fast. Oh, it's tight, isn't it? So tight there. Big gain again to this bottom of our screen, what we call the left-hand side of the course. There just seems to be more wind. Great Britain have made a gain, but they had to keep clear of the Australians. Australia will be sailing back towards more wind. Got to expect the Slingsby and co to make a gain from here.
As you see those green and red circles up here, the green team has the right of way, the red team has to give way as they make the turn now at gate number 3. And now you're going to see a lot of decisions being made here. It's going to be tough. Rockwell, Denmark's coming in. So is Spain, Canada, Brazil. Mubadala Brazil opt for the right-hand side of the course.
Yeah, it's always a really interesting decision at the top of the course. You know, do you save yourself a manoeuvre or do you turn instantly back towards more wind? Brazil went straight and they've sailed into a nice bit of wind, but they're all having to turn very soon after that right turn. So I think it could be a nice game for France. But yeah, as soon as you're back in the pack, you don't have that first choice, and that's where New Zealand find themselves.
Sebastian Snyder, the winners of race number 1, the Swiss, they were back in 10th place. They have made nice gains here, Stevie, pulling a full New Zealand as they've moved up to 6th place. Mubadala Brazil has dropped back to 5th. Rockwell, Denmark into 4th, and France holding down that 3rd place position after a 4th in race number 1. But it's the all Aussies right now. Look at the speeds on top of that wing, 76 kilometers an hour.
We're in a transition here. How long, Cash? 5 off. Stand by. Hit it with pressure here.
There we go, tight cross for the French. It's interesting listening into Slingsby and Draper, though, on those Australian boats. We can see how gusty it is, and we're going to see a split at the bottom here. We're going to see Australia turn right, Great Britain turn left. So again, who's reading the wind best? The Rolex chasing time is coming down. Britain are on the gain. They're going to be faster out of gate 4 here, the DP World Gate. But who's going to find the most wind? Slingsby had the first pick, but he didn't have a lot of margin. They're both going to split the gate almost neck and neck. Who's made the right choice?
So a 1 second differential between Australia and Great Britain at gate number 4. And now the race is on to the top of the course, then back down, and then the quick left-hander to the finish line.
Tight back in the pack there, Todd. Denmark have made their way up to 5th. Rockwell, Denmark, I really thought they might have been a formed team. They finished Auckland so well. Yet to fully get up and running just here in Sydney, but slow starters, they might bring it as we come back together later on in the event.
Stevie, it's worth noting the amount of talent that's out on the water right now with World Championships, America's Cups, gold medals from the Olympics, and these boats are all equally prepared. They all share the same data, but you see the Australians just dominating in practice, and today it looks like a repeat of yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, you know, that, yeah, they've lost Kyle Langford, but when they've lost Kyle Langford, they got Chris Draper. I mean, it's just so much experience. It's just a boat full of experience is what they've got there. And I think with these new T4s, maybe I've forgotten, we should have mentioned them, you know, the boats have got, they're all learning so much.
Sure.
How do you fly the boat? How do you use that T4? Do you push it wide on the boat, give yourself a lot of horsepower? Do you make the boat easier to sail? You're constantly compromising, and I think that experience just helps them, which is why it's so impressive that towards the top of our screen there, Mubadala Brazil in 4th place, and now they've got themselves a bit of fresh air after a good start, put in a really good showing.
Martine Grail, the new driver for that new team that's come in, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time world champion, the 2014 Sailor of the Year, as she is now driving them into a 4th place position, trying to track down France, who sit in 3rd.
Looks like a potential lead change here. The British have found more wind on that left-hand side. Here we go. Comes Dylan Fletcher across the boat, takes the wheel from Hannah Mills, right of way Australia.
Stay there, Parko. One and Idler.
Tightly behind.
Dylan's planning ahead here. He says, Hannah Mills says the wind's turned to the left. That means good news for them, but good news for Australia. Australia potentially going to be set for a right turn. Great Britain are going to be fast. They're going to do one more manoeuvre, look for a left turn. Tight moment coming here. Who makes the right decisions?
And here it is.
Crucial moment. The Australians will have to keep clear of Great Britain. Big lead change right now. Who's found the most wind? Britain, what a overtake.
So they were trailing by 1 second at the last gate, and now they have given that second and given themselves an added bonus second. So Lisa, as they make the turn now, as they head towards home, whose position do you like better? Emirates GBR or Australia?
I think Australia had a really nice gust, but the one thing is they have to do another manoeuvre. So I think Great Britain will have the advantage here. It really is who sticks the best manoeuvres to this final turning mark.
So when they come back together here, Todd, the Australians got the right of way, but I think they're too far back. It looks like the British, yeah, Ian Jensen calls them across.
Look at the speed, though, on the wing of Australia. They are ticking right around 84 kilometers an hour, 77 for Emirates GBR, and there it is at mark number 6, just not quite there.
I tell you what, Hannah Mills and Dylan Fletcher are working very, very well out there on this race course today. Great comms, and what an overtake. Is this what we're going to see tomorrow afternoon? Great Britain against Australia on Sydney Harbour.
And your Emirates winning moment goes the way of Emirates GBR. Dylan Fletcher and company get the win in race number 2. The Australians will claim 2nd place, and that's a good first 2 races for the Brits. They go 5-1, but Australia, Stevie, a 3-2, even better.
Yeah, I mean, Australia have sailed very, very well, but Slingsby, I don't think he'll be happy about that, because that's the first time they've really been challenged boat speed wise. Let's have a word for the French. That's a 3 and a 4 in my memory there. Delapierre, oh, he has not lost any of it after a little bit of time off.
Rockwell, Denmark coming in 4th place with Mubadala Brazil in 5th, and the Swiss, nice bounce back. Remember, terrible start for Seb Schneider, the winners of race number 1. They will finish in 6th.
Yeah, going back, let's have a look at, 7th and 8th, New Zealand and Canada. Well, 9th, Spain are defending season 4 champions. New Zealand, Spain and Canada have had a sticky start to things here, and they're already on the back foot. The Kiwis just don't look as fast as we're starting to see them be.
So Canada will get an 8th after finishing 7th in the prior race, and it's Spain. Wow, they finished 2nd in the first race, and they drop back and finish 9th.
I think the thing with a slightly bigger race course here is if there is the opportunity to overtake, but because people have got a bit more time to get the boat up to speed, you should be able to do more accurate manoeuvres. Makes it harder to make an overtake if the other teams aren't making mistakes.
tough weekend gets even tougher for the Germans after finishing 10th in race number 1. They go 11th in race number 2. Just to remind you, the Americans unable to race because of damage to their boat during practice yesterday.
And it was pure perfection from the local heroes in that start. Australia hitting the line at 60 kilometers an hour at the pole position. The Brits just tailing just behind them. They weren't going quite as quickly, but they did enough to get to Mark II in second. And that's where the battle continued the entire way around the course. These two teams neck and neck, trading seconds on each leg. Incredible sailing, and the split really gave us this opportunity to see what was going on the course. But it wasn't so for all the teams. Things got a little bit too splashy on the New Zealand boat after a very close call with the Canadian team. But the battle did continue up front. The teams mere meters in between the two of them. And what was really clear was just the different modes sailed. What we saw, Australia, they were slower but sailed less distance. Ultimately, because the British team were able to get rid of one maneuver, they stole the win at that top gate, set up well for the final mark, and took the victory.
So after finishing 5th in race number 1, Emirates GBR comes back and gets a win in race number 2. We now go on board with Dylan Fletcher. Dylan, quite a race for you guys. What did you learn from race number 1 that you were able to translate into your victory in race number 2?
Yeah, I think in race number 1 we were close to having a major at the start, so we got caught up, and that time we managed to wiggle Prix and had a right ding-dong with the Aussies, so a good one.
Yeah, Dylan, you and Hannah seem to be reading things well. Just at the finish line there, Hannah mentioned, there's a bit of weather over there. Are we expecting a change in the next few minutes on the water?
I don't know, you'll have to ask some of the locals, maybe they'll know. But yeah, it looks there's some clouds building up behind the bridge, so hopefully we'll still be in good shape for the racing.
Dylan, appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck on the upcoming 3rd race of the day here in Sydney. Well, it's been a flying start here at the KPMG SailGP in Sydney for the returning French team. They are back racing on water after delay to their new F50 and wing sail issues prevented them, I should say, from competing in the first 2 events of the 2025 season. But Quentin Delpierre and company are back.
As you can imagine, I've been waiting for a while,
We have the same team. We learned a lot last season, and it's time to show that we improved.
And it's good to see France up and sailing again, back in the fleet. Remember, they missed the first 2 events.
I would say that we need to do some miles with the boat before we are 100% sure that everything fit perfectly, because we will optimize every single minute and every single second that we have on the water, for sure. All the guys are, super pro. We've been together for many years.
They just want to put the throttle down and sail their passion. They are fully motivated.
If you follow SailGP, you've seen that we just failed twice to go on a podium and on a final in San Francisco.
And they've got to keep
Too close!
There's going to be a crash! Oh, no!
We got a collision!
We were close, but the difference between being close and achieve your goal is quite huge. We did some great things last season, but we need to be making sure we avoid big mistakes like we did in San Francisco.
See the rudder, they've snapped the bottom off their rudder. Look, back of screen there.
They won't even be able to make the next race.
They're going to be out of the race, that's it. Doesn't really need words, does it there, if you're a French fan? Absolute disaster, really.
I'm not afraid about the team and the way to sail the boat, but they're in a new foil. We never sailed with those new foil and a new boat. Is everything going to run perfectly on the boat? We'll see, but try to make it the best we can this weekend, and then push for the rest of the season after to make sure we go in the final.
We just want to race at the very best level, race this new boat, new branding, which will be quite emotional, and I'm super happy, honestly, to start this season here in Sydney.
Well, it is great to have Team France back in the fleet, and next up for them and the other 11 national teams is a trip across the Pacific Ocean. From Australia's Harbour City, we go stateside and head to the west coast of the United States of America for a California doubleheader, SailGP style. Get ready, California. This March, SailGP hits the waters of Los Angeles and San Francisco. Witness national teams battle at breakneck speeds aboard flying F-50 catamarans just meters from the shore. High-speed drama, heart-pounding action, and an unforgettable experience await. Don't miss your chance to be part of the adrenaline-fueled spectacle. Secure your tickets now. So it's a triple header in the United States. It's a Grand Slam, LA, San Francisco, and then the Big Apple of New York City. It'll be challenging and very different sailing conditions, but we've got the best sailors in the world, and they are set to go to North America, and that'll be some exciting stuff. Hope we see you all there as we come up on 90 seconds to go before the start of race number 3. So here we go. It's the calm before the chaos. Hit the race 3 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix in Sydney. And the conditions, Stevie, you see a little bit of ripples out there. You've seen some pressure out there. Who do you favor? We've got 2 races, 2 different winners, Switzerland and Emirates GBR.
Yeah, I definitely think the British look quite fast. British and Australia are the standout teams at the moment in season 5.
So a minute to go. Brazil late to come in on this one, but they had their best finish this weekend, a 5th on that last race after coming in with an 11th in race number 1.
Yeah, well, Great Britain at the back. New Zealand need a good start in this race. They're well positioned at the moment, the Kiwis, right in the middle of the pack there. Interesting strategy from Brazil. But yeah, the big protagonists, Great Britain, Australia and New Zealand, are out the back at the moment, going to be looking for a late charge here. Great Britain look like they're going to be late from here. The wind is very, very gusty. The different colours suggesting that. Rolex pole predictor sits with the French. But yes, can New Zealand get a start? They need a big race here. They've got the pole predictor sat on them, but it's going to be hard to find a gap through. Middle of the line favoured. It's all about timing now. Sehested on board. Denmark looks early. Australia looks well positioned at the bottom of the line. What can Burling do from here? They start to wind it up. They're going to bring it in towards the start line now, and it's all about clinical execution. Watch for it to turn white. It's go, but it's perfect again from Slingsby at the top of our screen, the downwind end of the line. He will be on the inside at Mark 1, and it's just whether they're fast enough to hold on to the fast charging Germans coming over the top of them.
It's race 3 of 4 on day number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix as they approach mark number 1. Who's going to grab the whole shot? Tom Slingsby on the inside, and it will be the Flying Ruse once again.
I tell you what, I think Slingsby's had the best start for about 7 races in a row nearly. They've just been absolutely on fire. That Rolex sprint leader jersey, well, it's sitting firmly on his shoulders at the moment, but Great Britain and Spain first to manoeuvre away, a little bit away from the boundary, but look how they've avoided the congestion, the melee of the pack there. They're going to have clear wind, big chance to overtake some places early in the race, as France, well, they're out the back at the moment, and New Zealand again stuck in the pack.
And that's the view from the front of the pack as Tom Slingsby and the Australians doing Australian things here on home waters. And I got to be honest with you, Stevie, for my money, so disappointed to see Pete Burling and the Kiwis back in 7th again.
Yeah, struggling on the starts. I mean, they have been really all season, but at the moment they're not fast enough to make the overtake. Left turn coming from Australia. Slingsby keeping it simple. I think the Germans will follow, so the interesting boat here will be Spain and Switzerland. Oh, the Danish, they've got to keep clear of the Swiss now. That's tight. Whoa, that was very, very tight. I think Sehested just about spun the boat through there. Full Viking mode for the Danish in the middle of the pack there. Right turn for Spain. Can they find more wind? Look how gusty it is. That's just a racetrack full of opportunity right there, Todd. Opportunity to overtake as New Zealand, they're a little bit faster at the DP World Gate here. They're going to swing around the outside of Mubadala, Brazil. Now Kiwis have got to find some magic to get themselves back into this event here in Sydney.
Brazilians with the right of way as Canada, North Star Canada, Giles Scott, they have to keep them distance. The Italians come through, and France, surprised to see France, who's had a good race so far. They finished with a 4th and a 3rd. They sit dead last in 11th.
I think this will be a real sign of how that French team is. The top teams normally overtake. Look at that cloud in the background over the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Good manoeuvre by New Zealand.
On board with the Kiwis.
Yeah, that's Liv Mackay. Went into the middle of the boat there to be able to look. The vision on these boats not easy, but you've got 6 of you on board. You've got 6 sets of eyes, so use them well to avoid any incidents. New Zealand did a great job there. Liv Mackay calling them round behind. But look at Australia. Again, bottom of our screen on this offshore side. Is there any real change in the conditions down on the water, Lisa, or is it still a fairly open race course?
I mean, obviously that left-hand side, that side away from Shark Island does have the most breeze, but from my eyes, what is the difference between the bottom end speed and the top end speed? Wind speed is so much different now. So if you find a better gust or a better shift, the advantages is just so much more. It's really tough out here.
Lisa, let's talk about your forecasting, because on that last shot we saw the dark clouds over the downtown skyline of Sydney. What are you hearing? Because we still have one more race to go after this one.
Yeah, well, what that cloud is doing, it's really sucking the breeze in, so it's building throughout the afternoon. The cloud is tracking to the north, so I don't think it's going to come too much over the racetrack and shut down the wind. So I think we're going to have plenty of breeze for the final race of today.
All right, good to know as we take a look at the Rolex chasing time, and it's Germany and Australia locked in a good one right here. 6 seconds and holding steady.
Yeah, it is, but Germany are going to have to manoeuvre as well, so they're going to be following in behind Australia. And if anyone follows you round a mark, if you've got to go the same way, well, that limits the opportunity to overtake. So really the interesting boat will be the Swiss here. They'll probably turn right. They'll be the only ones really threatening Australia, other than Australia. Oh no, Switzerland decide to dive inside. Great manoeuvre by the Swiss. Oh, aggressive on the Germans, but probably if you're sat in Tom Slingsby's position, you're a bit more relaxed now, because the first 5 boats are all going to take the same mark as you, and if you follow the boat in front of you, there's very little chance of overtaking, because you've got turbulent, disturbed wind that's slowing you down, and well, you're less likely to find the opportunity. So Slingsby right now, if you can be relaxed on an F50, Tom Slingsby will be relaxed.
Is this the race where Tom Slingsby gives the hometown fans what they're looking for, an Aussie win? This will be race number 3 with one more still to go. The Kiwis have moved up to 6th place so far, and France still mired back in 7th, Stevie. It's Australia, Switzerland, and Germany 1, 2, and 3.
Steezy, that's the first time I've been known as cool for quite a long time, Todd. I'll take that one. But yeah, look at that. I think the New Zealand boat are moving up, but they're still in 6th. Not good enough for New Zealand. Emirates, Great Britain and Spain, well, they've had a sort of up and downy day. Both had some good races and some average races. I think, can the British make an overtake? But the Swiss, got to put them down as one of the top performers after a great first race. They're chasing the Australians.
We'll see how we go. Okay, adding some rudders. They're turning up here in 2, 1, coming up.
Tom Slingsby, the driver, making the call there. They make the turn at gate number 4. 2nd place belongs to Switzerland, winners of race number 1, and Germany coming in hot. Germany, Deutsche Bank, and they're going to follow the Aussies as well.
Did a nice job. The Australians did a great round up there. We'll see how well do the Swiss, how smooth do they sail the boat. Pretty good. I think what's interesting from here to the event in Auckland was at this turn, where they turn from downwind to upwind at the bottom DP World Gate. A lot of the flight controllers were struggling to judge that change of speed and the amount of lift on the foils, and we saw boats spinning out. Okay, the conditions are a little bit easier, but I think people will have gone and dived into the Oracle Cloud. They will have taken some lessons from that last event, our first event on the T-foils, and the general standard of the boat handling and the manoeuvring is definitely improved.
Leave the cant. Looks light up there.
Yeah, it's busy back in the pack. One place overtaken for the French, and they're chasing Mubadala Brazil now, but out in front, the Swiss and the Spanish. Well, the Swiss really need a good performance at this event, and at the moment they are delivering.
See, the voice is getting a little more elevated, a little more out of breath, as this is the 3rd of 4 races scheduled for today. 3 more tomorrow, Stevie. Everyone's trying to get to that grand final. Every point counts. So if you're in 7th, 8th, 9th, you want to try to bump yourself up to a 5, 6, or a 7.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the mover here is Emirates Great Britain. They're heading towards the bottom of our screen, which is that offshore away from Shark Island. That's where the gains have been happening. They forced Germany to manoeuvre away. Eric Heil here takes a moment to have a look, see what the situation looks like. I think that was quite wise. He's going to judge Spain. He's got to keep clear. Spain have the right of way.
Coming up. And my rig. Oh, you stay.
Wow, that was tight, wasn't it, Todd? It's happening so fast. James Wybowski, Australian, down there, flying the boat from the wrong side of the boat. He needed to stay down there because of that tight cross. Switzerland hold on to second, but the Great Britain team are on the move right now.
Left here. Ryan, you stay on this side.
I think what's interesting, we heard the Swiss team saying good righty, and they were heading to the right. They should have been heading towards the left. Now they said good lefty, and they're heading to the left, and they should be heading towards the right. So a little bit out of phase with the wind on board the Swiss boat, but I think they might have found good pressure. So maybe sailing more distance at the moment, but if they've got good wind, they'll be doing that distance faster.
Stevie, look at the surface of the track right now. There's all kinds of ripples across there, all kinds of pressure or dark patches.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of sailing, there's like, how do you see the wind? And of course, you know, it's not black magic. What we see is the effect of the wind on the water, and that's just beautifully illustrated by this shot here. Those darker patches, that's more wind. The glassier, lighter patches, that's less wind. So it's not black magic that Tom Slingsby's out there in front. He's not seeing something that's completely invisible. He's just using the cues he can on the water to find out. And right now, it's a masterclass from the Australians.
And I always thought you did work in black magic. But here we go on leg 6 of 7. It's down about halfway down the course. It's a left-hand turn, and then they will see the Emirates winning moment finish line. And right now, look at this.
Spain
very
off the
tight.
foils, Tom.
Spain has dropped off, and Germany's going to make the pass. They will go into 4th.
Oh, big mistake by Botín and co. And the Brazilians are there right in the middle of it. Germany had to keep clear. That's slowing the Spanish black foils. Chance to get a 4th. Could this save the Kiwis regatta? The mistakes for the boat in front. Right of way, New Zealand. Germany must keep clear. Oh, the Germans needed to have seen that coming earlier. That's Eric Heil needed to manoeuvre.
But the win in race number 3 goes to the hometown team. The Australians take the win in front of their fans.
Oh, and the New Zealanders have messed it up after the manoeuvre there.
Brazil relative Italy, windward boat not keeping clear.
Look at the New Zealand boat. They can't get it foiling. They've hobby-horsed out of the water twice in a row. I don't know what is happening on that New Zealand boat right now, but they're not going to make Mark 6. This could be Rottwell Denmark coming all the way up to 4th.
So 1, 2, and 3 we know for sure is Australia, Switzerland, and Great Britain. They take the top 3 positions, and then the rest of the fleet coming through. And this is an absolute mess here in race number 3 at the final mark.
Oh, it is Rottwell Denmark full Viking mode.
How about this? Talk about a Houdini move. It's Rockwool Denmark, who were mired back in 8th. They're going to finish in 4th.
It's not Houdini, it's just mistakes from everyone, Todd. New Zealand, I don't know what's happened there. They couldn't get the boat foiling after the manoeuvre. Rockwool Denmark up to 4th. Unbelievable. Canada could get a 5th, and New Zealand, from nearly saving the regatta, might well have lost the regatta on this downwind leg.
France got themselves out of a hole. They were back in 11th. Now they are in 8th, and it will be Italy coming in 9th. And you see New Zealand still trying to get around that mark. Brazil's going to pass them as well. So just like that, that's how it is in SailGP. It is harsh. You make a mistake. This time, Stevie, it's going to cost them 7 positions.
Oh, it's huge. And you could just see a little bit of the fairings come off. I mean, they had some big leaps out of the water. Now, I don't know if something wasn't responding quite right on the flight control system, or they were just misjudging how much lift to come in with the pressure of it. But something went wrong from a flight control perspective, because the boat just kept leaping out of the water.
Martin Grail and Mubadala Brazil, they come in, they will finish 10th. 11th will go to the Kiwis. We don't know what's going on that boat, Stevie, whether they had some problems, mechanical issues. Obviously, the boats are all prepared equally, but you can have some issues that come up. It's no one's real fault, but the Kiwis, oh my goodness, Stevie, they were battling for a 4th, and they end up with an 11th.
Yeah, and I mean, well, for me, they're going to need to pretty much win the next 4 races to hope to get to the final, I think, from here. I mean, very, very tough regatta for them. It could be Daman's limitation already after just 3 races. And when you see Tom Slingsby, and to be fair, the British as well, moving up through the fleet so quickly, well, there's all to play for. But that was absolutely classic from the Australians.
So it is Australia after getting 3rd in race number 1, 2nd in race number 2, and they win race number 3. We now go on board with their driver, Tom Slingsby, a 3-time champion in SailGP, Olympic gold medalist. Tom, it's always nice winning in New Zealand, but it's got to be sweet winning here in your home waters in front of the fans of Sydney.
No, it's unbelievable. I can see Shark Island packed. That was a nice feeling crossing the line, hearing everyone cheer. Yeah, really happy with that race. Started really well.
Tom, you seem to be unbelievable off the start line at the moment. Is that maybe a little upgrade next year in Chris Draper coming in on the wing trim, or is that something you've been working on as a whole team?
Yeah, look at him. He loves that one. He loves it. Yeah, no, Chris has been great in the starts. We're working really well together. We're talking about other boats and the comms, and Tash is doing a great job. And yeah, we're positioning the boat really well. Look, starting is one of those fickle things. All of a sudden you get confidence and you can knock a heap out, and then all of a sudden you can't start a lawnmower, as Russell Coots would say.
Tom, appreciate the time. If you can keep Chris Draper humble, do that. But we wish you guys the best of luck in race number 4.
And yet again, another brilliant start by that Australian team. You can see here they're creating that space below them so that they've got clear room to accelerate. A good start as well by the German team, who were a little bit slower off the line, but they were bow forwards on the boats around them, which allowed them to accelerate as well. But ultimately, Australia just have such a good ability to build that speed, shoot ahead and get to Mark 1 first. Now for them, it was fairly smooth sailing the whole way around the course, but not quite the case for all of the boats behind. We had plenty of close crosses, especially around those gates. And again, tricky conditions with that storm building off to the side. It was making it even gustier and shiftier, which really made the difference in speeds a whole lot bigger when a team crashed off the foils. See, the British team hit over 90k an hour, while the Spanish, who touched down, below 30. So the gains had just happened so much faster. A brilliant race for the Australians, but absolute carnage in their wake as things got a little bit out of control for the Kiwis, then the Spanish, then the Germans, and allowed the Danish to go from 7th all the way through to 4th.
So 3 races in, 3 different winners, and no surprise to see the Australians. Look at the consistency, a 3rd, a 2nd, and a 1st. That gives them 27 points. Switzerland looking very good with a 1.62, 24 even with Emirates GBR, who are always consistent. Now, remember, you want to be in the top 3 to get in the event final, which is coming up tomorrow after a few more fleet races. For my money, Rockwell, Denmark, France, and Spain, maybe even Canada, still have a shot to make that event final here in Sydney Harbour on Super Sunday. There's nothing like a Sydney summer. Days are packed with adventure, and nights are magical. The city comes alive with music, art, culture, and sport. But nestled in the metropolis are stunning harborside parks, iconic swimming pools, and viewing points that will take your breath away. And when it's time to kick back, choose from endless world-class beaches that surround Sydney. 2.5 minutes to go. Phil will be coaching the Germans. So we come up with one more race to go here on day number 1. And so far it is the Australians looking so very consistent on 27 points. There you see the Swiss and Great Britain even on 24. Denmark, France, and Spain, Stevie, even Canada for my money may still have a shot of making that big event final. But remember, you cannot have 2 bad races, and it is tight margins here in Sydney Harbour.
Flying carbon machines driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
Day number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. This is event 3, the Rolex SailGP Championship. Todd Harris, Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin with you. If you remember our last event in Auckland, New Zealand, it was Australia, Spain, and Emirates GBR, the top 3. And remember, coming up next, we're going to Los Angeles, California, the Sail Grand Prix in March in 15 and 60. That'll be in the port of LA. But I'll tell you what, Stevie, it is a packed house in Sydney Harbour. All the teams now in the start box.
Yeah, I mean, what a place to watch the racing. And this start, of course, so crucial as we see New Zealand look a little bit late behind Shark Island. Australia out the back, but they've made that work well for them in the previous races.
Keep your eye on the Australians. They have been masterclass, and they are dead by themselves in the middle. No one's near them right now. I don't know if that's such a wise play.
Well, I just think sometimes as soon as you get that kind of air of dominance about you, people feel that you're going to dominate them, so they try and stay away from you. But let's see what happens. Middle of the line's favoured at the moment. Rockwool, Denmark moving in nicely. The Italian team up here, well, they need a good race, and they're positioned nicely with a bit of space. Out the back, it's New Zealand. They've been struggling to start. They've got a penalty. This is an absolute catastrophe for the black foils at the moment. Great Britain are foiling. Rolex pole predictor, that sits on top of the Australian boat at the moment, but it's going to need to be like Moses in the Red Sea for Tom Slingsby to part his way through the fleet here. Can he dodge his way in here? The French are coming in hot, but Slingsby's got a big gap. He lines it up. He winds it up. We're watching for the start line to turn white. How's your timing, Tom Slingsby? Oh, he's on the money again. What a start from the Australians. A bullet out of the gun. They will lead at Mark 1. Are they beatable today?
As they approach mark number 1, it is deja vu all over again. The Australians, the green and gold, they will take the lead in the whole shot here in the 4th and final race of the day.
Oh, well, we expect them to stretch towards the boundary. We've seen them do it all day. Keep it simple if you're the Rolex sprint leader, move away, but they've got Great Britain in 3rd, nicely positioned, and see how gusty it is. It's a long sprint down to the DP World Gate number 2 here, and it's a good move by the Swiss. They've got some space, all about execution for Australia.
Hey, Myro, get you in there. Falling down.
So there's the fleet. You know who we're missing right now, though? It is the Kiwis. They are out the back, Stevie. I got to think something's going on the boat because they just have way too much talent on board to be in the position they're in right now.
Yeah, something just doesn't seem quite right, does it? And look how smooth it is on Australia here. Interesting here. I think Slingsby could have turned left, but he knows the whole fleet will turn right, so he drops the right turn to get everyone following. Classic manoeuvre for sailors watching there. Slingsby's opportunity to limit leverage on the rest of the fleet. He plays an extra manoeuvre, but he gains total control of the fleet.
France will be in 2nd place, and then at the last moment, it is Switzerland and Spain, as well as Germany, Deutsche Bank. They will go for the opposite side of the course, and there you see the black foils, the Kiwis sitting way back in 11th.
Good breeze on Australia, but look at that dark patch of water in front of the Swiss. The Swiss are sailing towards good wind on that side of the course. What can they do? I think the Kiwis are out. They're off the foils. They're stopped. Bad news for them. They're really struggling here.
Final race of the day here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, and it is a tough day as the Kiwis were looking to bounce back after missing out on the final in their home event in Auckland at the last event, and they are just dead in the water.
3 seconds. On in 2. On Gus on here.
It's interesting how calm the tempo is on the Australian boats. They've got the space, they're making their own decisions. It's really this battle, 5th Great Britain, the Swiss team, the Spanish team, all in that melee. It's going to be so tight. These points are going to be so close. Emirates Great Britain have to manoeuvre to keep clear of the Swiss.
Settle it down. Stay there, Parker. Don't have to stop fire.
How about that viewing?
Yeah, that's a pretty good view. And the Australians are going to love that, aren't they, on home turf? They're manoeuvring right out close to the boundary. But the French are going well. The Roux are happy. They're dancing on the shoreline there, but they're moving away, and the French are not letting them get away with this one lightly. Quentin de la Pierre's got that French boat going fast at the minute.
French trying to bounce back of disappointing performance in race number 3 where they finished in 8th. That was after finishing 4th and 3rd in the first 2 races respectively.
Tight moment here with Spain and Switzerland. Switzerland, big manoeuvre coming up, bottom right-hand corner of our screen. Right of way was with Spain there. Well executed by the Swiss, but it opens the door for the British team to make a little move up through the fleet here, and it's really, really tight. But where it is not tight is out in front. One and in right was the call from Tom Slingsby. He's looking to head away, and look at this, our Oracle insights. We're going up into the cloud to find out what wind we've got. Well, not the most wind on the Australians at the moment. France have a little bit more wind where they are on the course, but crucially, where they are on the course is behind.
Well, speaking of the cloud, let's get a report on the weather. We go down on the water with Lisa Darman. And Lisa, any changes from what we heard from you in race number 3? And is there a more favored side in this one?
No problem.
I mean, the course has opened up a little bit. It does look like the wind shifted a little bit more to the right, so not as gusty as we were seeing. I mean, it's still really gusty out here. And one interesting thing to have a think about is when these teams are deciding cross, not cross, and significantly, it's so hard to make those judgment calls. So they're all doing a pretty good job out here.
Well, it's something to think about when it is changing so dynamically as that, but I guess you just got to build a bit more margin into that. If you are crossing and it's close, perhaps don't do it if you haven't got the right of way, because you don't know when things are going to change. Where it is tight here, look at this, Great Britain and Canada really tight. Canada have got to manoeuvre because there'll be boundary room for the Great British.
Penalty Canada relative GBR didn't give room at the boundary.
As soon as you enter that boundary, you've got to manoeuvre away. Canada was too slow to do that. They need to drop back behind the British. That's our Emirates umpire studio there, and that was the voice of Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell dishing out the penalties.
On board and listening to Tom Slingsby and the Australians as they now have increased their lead to over 200 meters over 2nd place and France. So you see New Zealand, they are just limping through the course. They're going to finish dead last in points. And Stevie, I think it's got to be some kind of mechanical, some kind of issue on board.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to keep going to make sure they don't get scored as a did not finish is what they're trying to do here. Australia well set. If the French follow them now, then this is pretty much race over. The Australians are going to take the win, but in the pack it's so tight. Canada still need to drop back behind the British. It says now they have. They've just dropped behind. Right of ways with Great Britain coming in from the right hand side of our screen. Canada coming in from the left hand side have got to keep clear, but we could see a split. Canada is still in the fight.
Australia 1, France 2, Emirates GBR in 3, and North Star Canada, Giles Scott, they will opt for that other side of the course, coming in very hot in this one, having their best race of the 4.
Yeah, I mean, Canada need a good race here. Look how tight it is.
Pretty wild racing, isn't it? Big one turning up here.
That's what we want, Dylan. That's what we paid the big bucks for. Wild racing's fun racing, if you ask me. As we see Rottwell, Denmark, they take a left turn. The Swiss, they could do with a good result. They're going to have a big leg. This is our final leg up into the wind here. They're heading towards the left of our screen, upwind to the next gate, and this is the last upwind leg of the race. We're getting towards the end of the race here, leg 5 or 7, Todd.
And it is all Australia, the winners of the last race. We'll remind you that race number 1 was won by Switzerland. Race number 2 was won by Emirates GBR. Race 3 going the way Australians. And looks like the Aussies are going to go into Super Sunday, Stevie, with back-to-back wins possibly here in 3 and 4.
If you're just looking in here, well, how do you know if a boat's being sailed well? You're looking at, is that heel staying steady? How high, how regulated is the height of the boat? You see how the hull on the right-hand side of our screen is saying nearly exactly the same height out the water. That's flight controller Jason Waterhouse. He's flying the boat. Then you've got the voice of Draper. He's controlling the speed, that big wing sail going up towards the top of our screen there, and Slingsby, the ultimate decision maker.
So 3 key players on board there, the holy trinity of sailing, with Tom Slingsby giving the final word. They've got the strategist, and then they have the 2 big fellas up front powering that big wing, which gives them all that pressure maneuverability as we're on leg 5 of 7. It's Australia out in front, maintaining their lead. France sits in second place. We got another tight crossing coming.
Right of way, Great Britain. Tight to go, 500 metres till this next gate. There will be one more intersection between these 2 boats. It's all going to come down to who's going to find the most wind in the last bit. Historically, heading towards the bottom of our screen, Great Britain are sailing towards where there's normally been more wind, but that means they're probably going to turn right at the top. Canada are probably going to turn left. You want to be splitting away if you're the boat behind, because that gives you the chance to find more wind. That gives you the chance to find an overtake.
Stevie, at this point in the race, how much is Tom Slingsby thinking about the other boats out there, or since they're so far out in front, is he just saying, I'm just searching for pressure?
Yeah, I think when it's as gusty and shifty as this, Todd, you've got to sail your own race, because if you worry about the other boat, you might put yourself in a situation where you're in less wind. You can't control what the wind's doing. You can only sail in the wind that you get given, and if you worry too much about the other boats, there's a chance you're going to make a loss.
So a 20-second lead for Slingsby as he comes on the penultimate leg, and then they'll make the left-hand turn at that last gate at mark number 6. There you see North Star Canada. Giles Scott was on board Emirates GBR last year. Now it is Dylan Fletcher, the driver for the Brits. Both of them filling in for the great Sir Ben Ainsley.
Great final manoeuvre for the Australians. Tash Bryant steering out of there. Silky smooth. Her and Chris Draper working the bait as Slingsby heads across. They're high on the foil. Oh, good save there. The Australians, they're coming home with 2 wins at the end of the day here, Todd.
So after 4 races, the last 2 go the way of the home team. The Emirates winning moment twice on day number 1 goes the way of the Australians.
Great day for the French. What a welcome back to SailGP, and I've got to say I'm pleased for them after missing the first 2 events. We probably shouldn't be too biased on things. I don't think we are. It's just nice to see a team back and racing, and really good work by Quentin de la Pierre and the crew there. Fantastic return. Well, they've got a few French fans have made the trip down south for a bit of sun in the winter.
It'll be Emirates GBR that will finish in 3rd place. They got the win in race number 2. Good day for them. They finished 3rd in the last race. They finished 3rd in race number 4. Canada will go 4th, their best results so far.
Yeah, crucial. That might keep them in the hunt. Might keep them in the hunt tomorrow. Spain as well. Rockwool, Denmark. It's been a remarkably, almost vanilla day in the middle of the pack for Rockwool, Denmark, but I imagine that won't see them looking too bad on the overalls. They've been consistent, they've been solid. It's going to need a little bit more magic for that Rockwool, Denmark team.
Nice result for Germany. We spoke with them before the last race, and so tough weekend already for Eric Highland Company, Stuart Bithell, but they come back nicely and bounce in with a 7th.
Yeah, that's a good one. The Italians, well, they've moved up through the fleet a little bit. Tight sprint to the finish here for Red Bull Italy. Not perhaps the performance they'd have been hoping for, but if they can hold off the Swiss, they'll be happy.
Yeah, the Italians will get Red Bull Italy 8th place. The Swiss, winners of race number 1, they will finish in 9th. So it'll be Brazil coming in 10th place. And a tough day for them. Remember, they got an 11th in the first race. They bounced up to a 5th in race number 2, but then back-to-back 10th place finishes. And that puts New Zealand in 11th. And I got to think they've got mechanical issues. Again, if you're just joining us, the USA team capsized yesterday, damaged their boat, so they're unable to race this weekend. And a big hit for that squad, Taylor Canfield and company. But once again, in races 3 and 4, it is Australia that takes top honors here in Sydney. That's disappointment right there on board the black foils, as Peter Burling, a team that's usually out in front there, is going to bring that boat home and figure out what the problem is with racing going on tomorrow on Super Sunday. One of the most consistent boats out on the water today, and we welcome them back. It is Quentin Delapierre and the French. They had to sit out the first two as the wing was not ready. Quentin, welcome back. Good to see you out there again. And you guys, no rust on you. You guys look fantastic in your first races here back at season 5.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Quentin, I'll just say, c'est magnifique. Welcome back to the fleet. We're glad to have you here for season 5.
Was wonderful, honestly. Coming back here in Sydney, on good condition, and with the new T4s, I think we're stepping one step forward.
Quentin, great result. Manon, how is it to be back racing? You seem to have almost not gone away, sailing very well on that French boat today.
Yeah, it was pretty tight on the race course. Yeah, pretty exciting to be able to race again against all the other boats again, and what a day for it. That was pretty.
Manon and Quentin, appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck tomorrow, and we hope to see you in that event final after the fleet racing on Super Sunday.
And it was magic once again for that Australian team. But it was the French here that pulled the rabbit out the hat, sneaking through that gap to steal that pole position. Now, while the Australians had the best acceleration, both teams were doing over 60 kilometers an hour at the gun. And that was why they were the only two teams to hit over 90k an hour by Mark 1 and just sailed so brilliantly around the course. There was a little less chaos in this race, which allowed teams really to focus on their maneuvers, their boat handling, and you see them come around here, the Australians leading all the teams like little ducks in a row. What was really interesting to see, though, was the setup on board all of the teams. You could hear that communication of just trying to get these boats locked in. They're definitely testing out the ways that they set up these foils. With the French team, we see that they're using the most rudder average. So they're sailing with the most bow down setup in order to chase down the flying Ruse, who once again, so strong.
So the Australians dominant on day number 1 as they take victories in races 3 and 4 on home waters.
And now here we can see some of our data provided by the Oracle Cloud comparing the Australians and the French team. The area, each of those shaded areas shows which team's dominating. So the bigger green area shows where Australia is outperforming French. Their starting was slightly better, but the French so good upwind. That's where they were gaining meters on the Australian team.
4 races complete, and it is Australia, the hometown team, and winners of the last event in Auckland. They lead by 5 points clear of Emirates GBR. Then it's France. Welcome back to the French. They sit in 3rd place, 1 point clear of Switzerland, who won the first race of the day. Rockwell, Denmark, Spain, and Canada still have a chance to make the event final coming up tomorrow after a few more fleet races. Right now, we check in down on the water with Lisa Darmanin.
Well, I'm with the winners of the day, Tom and Tasha. You guys are pretty busy making decisions all day.
Yeah, it was a tough day. Obviously, we've got this storm cell heading over from the west, so it wasn't your typical sea breeze, so it made it a bit trickier to pick the right ways. Some big gains and losses, but we had a really good day.
Well, when you were in the pack, it looked tough, but it would have been nice when you're out in front and had a little bit less to do, Tash.
Yeah, it was a lot nicer when we got a bit clear, but obviously it's super tight course with everyone and crazy angles when it's so shifty. So yeah, a lot going on sometimes.
And the starts were amazing, Tom. I know last year weren't the best starts, but you really brought it to Sydney this year.
Yeah, no, I don't know what's going on with our starts, but it's all sort of gelling. You need a bit of luck, and we've had a bit of luck. Little gaps have opened up at the right time. Yeah, sometimes it just clicks, and we're sort of in a little purple patch at the moment. We hope we can continue it on.
Well, awesome job, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Smiles on the faces of the Australians, and why not? They won the last race, and they won 2 races on day number 1 as we take a look at the Rolex Precision Athletes of the Day.
And unsurprisingly, most of our precision sailors of the day are green and gold. Tom Slingsby taking driver of the day with a top speed of 93 kilometers an hour. Tash Bryant, strategist of the day, sailing the shortest amount of distance, and that was consistent in almost every race. Ian Jensen breaking the trend, highest average speed round the course.
And while we're handing out awards, Rolex best time start, how about this? It goes the way of the Swiss, and why not? Swiss made, look at that, 0.125 seconds. They were definitely on the mark on their best game there as they won race number 1. Sebastian Snyder and team, they look so strong, good maneuvers in tight quarters, able to avoid Canada and pull off the Rolex best time start. And another award, Stevie, you gotta like this, the DP World highest speed of the day. Why not? Give it to the Roos.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise to see them taking the quickest. What a performance by that Australian crew.
So 93.06 is the DP World fastest speed of the day, and with anticipation for more weather tomorrow, Stevie and Emily, it looks like we're in for another great race.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect race course, isn't it? We'll see what the weather brings, but there's a lot of opportunities for the fleet.
There you see the beautiful skyline of Sydney. So day number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney comes to a conclusion. It's event number 3 at the Rolex SailGP Championship. We were treated some great sailing, and we've got much more coming for you tomorrow from beautiful Sydney Harbour. So for Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris saying so long from Sydney. We'll see you for Super Sunday. It'll be a great day of racing here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney.
Oh my days, absolutely inexcusable. Oh, and they blur their back. Perfection from Slingsby. Whoa, what a moment.
And the Australians take the win in front of their fan.